Welcome to another episode of The Play Callers. I am one half of the dynamic duo, Stephen Box, joined as always by my co-host, the one and only.
That would be this guy right here, Cool McCain. It's another Friday. It's time to talk sports. Y'all ready?
Oh yeah. So whether you're tuning in live or you're catching us on the replay, two quick things for you tonight. Number one, please make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there in the bottom right-hand corner if you're joining us on YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube, go to playcallersportstalk.com and subscribe.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead and do it right now. We'll just wait for you.
Absolutely.
Also, we got a new feature for you guys. You can see the voice line is now set up. If you call that number anytime during the week, any questions, something pops up, you want us to talk about it on Friday night, call and leave us a voicemail about it. And you might just get featured on the show. You might be a part of the show.
It's all about interactive sports talk.
Always,
We're
man.
going to take it to a new level for you. Trust and believe.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to be interactive, man, we got to be all the way interactive. That's just how we roll,
No other way.
So I do want to welcome you back this week. Cool. Missed you last week, man. I realized just how fast I actually talk. And I had to do all the talking for an hour. Fortunately, Easy E was here to chat with me and join me last week to kind of help out. So appreciate you, E, if you watch it, man. Much love. Appreciation.
Yeah, I was able to catch the show last weekend. I got to admit, man, you do seem to speed up a little bit when you by yourself, homie.
Yeah, man. I ain't realized I was talking so fast until I ran out of time. I like, bro, I got all this stuff going on in sports this week. I got to talk about it. And then I was like, well, I got about 10 minutes left. I ain't got nothing else left to talk about. So
I did want to say, man, on the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, hasn't been a lot of news, this week on Aaron Rodgers. This is, of course, an ongoing saga. But, my opinion, is slightly different. In my mind, you're Aaron Rodgers. If you want out, force your way out, right? You giving that team a lot, and they basically did the same thing you did to Brett Favre. And that's cool. That's their right to do it. But at the same time, you're Aaron Rodgers. You got the right to be like, yo, if you're going to go grab this dude, you're not going to give me weapons to help me. Let me get up out of here. It's just that simple. Whatever way he want to go about it is the way he want to go about it. That's who he is. But he's got the right to do that. That's just, how I feel about that particular situation.
Well, my thoughts are, I feel like you're right. He's definitely earned the right to be able to handle the situation whatever way he wants. What they did to him was definitely wrong. I just want to see them play hardball with him because, it's just going to create all kind of issues for Green Bay. So that's what I want personally.
This guy.
I didn't come out and say that last week, but that's really what I was saying.
Oh, I know. I just wanted to go ahead and, drop my 2 cents on that particular topic.
Yeah, because you might notice this is a red and white, not green and yellow right here. Right?
I wouldn't have noticed. I appreciate you, pointing that out for me.
Well, I mean, some people, they can't see color. So, I just wanted to, make sure,
Yeah, that big SF on there kind of gives it away as well.
I mean, just if you're going to point out the obvious,
Yeah, funny story, man. So I was chatting on Facebook with one of my friends that's a 49ers fan. He was talking about how him and some of his boys are going to the Eagles game and how, week 2, y'all gonna smash us. And I'm like, look, man, I say so. I'm just going to tell you exactly what I told him. I was basically like, listen, you have a new defensive coordinator. He may be great. It may take him a little while. You don't know. You're acting like you guys, and this is a couple of comments, and you're acting like you guys are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and we're the old Cleveland Browns. Neither one of those things are correct. While you're a 49ers fan, obviously you're going to say, hey, your team's going to win. Don't come in the Eagles home opening talking about you're going to stump us. Because when it doesn't happen, then you're going to give me ammunition to have to reach out to you and have the same conversation in a little bit of a different fashion. So, it's one of those things where people need to understand you don't know who the Eagles are going to be. I don't know who the Eagles are going to be. So to assume that, oh, they were bad last year. So with the whole new coaching staff and the changes that have been made, they're going to be the same team. It's asinine. Let's wait for the game. Let's at least get a game under our belts and let's see how the guys play. Let's see how your team plays. Let's see how our team plays, and not necessarily just us, everybody. Let's not
Yep.
judge teams that's had a lot of changes based on what happened last year. So that Eagles Niners game, man, it's going to be fun for me. I actually may be going to that game. I haven't decided yet, but I'm excited that we are now in a position where we know the schedule
Yep.
and we're getting closer to football season. And of course, we'll touch on that later. But if you're watching out there, mysterious 49ers fan who I won't name, get your mind right. Too early to pop off. And the problem when you pop off is if you're wrong, I have to come for you. That's who I am.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just throw it out there, man. That you should at least wait until after week 1 before you start talking trash about what you're gonna do week 2. And considering that we're opening the season up against a let's just say not so quality opponent, we probably really still shouldn't pop off even after week 1. So, just because even if we go out there and play well week 1, man, that's not enough for me to like start popping off and talking crazy. I want to see how DeMeco Ryans does as a defensive coordinator over a few games. If I'm looking just at the talent of the rosters, if I'm looking at the quality of the coaching staffs, and I'm looking at the fact that you have a rookie head coach who is clearly a yes man, I feel pretty good about our chances of beating you. But at the same time, what's going to happen? Even if we go out there and smash you, what does that really mean? Because 3-4 games in, offensive coordinators are going to start to adjust to what DeMeco Ryans is doing as a defensive coordinator. Is he going to be able to adjust back? That's what we're going to have to find out. So, yeah, it's too early to be talking smack about beating anybody. And even if we do beat you, it means nothing in week 2.
Well, here's my whole thing, and this goes for all the teams that have, like the Jets, for instance, is another example. And there's several different teams. I'm not going to waste my time naming them all. When you have a team that has a completely different coaching staff and system, you have no idea what you're getting the first few weeks. There's not enough tape to really prepare yourself to face them. So you're at a disadvantage with the new coaching staff if you're the other team. Now, obviously, on the flip side of that, you have more consistency. Your offense is pretty much, everybody's pretty much in the same places as far as, personnel, as far as the coaching staff. But my point is, whenever you're playing a team first, I'm going to say 3, maybe 4 weeks, you don't have enough film to really know what that coach wants to do, what those coordinators want to do. So you're kind of walking in blind. And the worst part about walking in blind is there's tape on you, but there's not tape on them. So people need to think about that when you're looking at those early season matchups. Now, obviously, as we get further into the season, some of those things can change. Now, what I will say is my head coach is definitely a yes man. We have to see how he actually performs on the field, but personality wise, he is definitely what you would consider a yes man.
Well, we already know what your play calls are going to be on the sideline.
Well, hey, man, if he does rock twice, we don't know what that means. If he does paper and scissors, we don't know what that means. So it still could, it still could make some things happen.
Oh, he's going to rock every time, bro. He's going to rock every time.
What's going to be great is dead serious. If I look at the game and he has rocks, papers, and scissors, like on the little posters, and he's holding up, bro, I'm going to be dying laughing. If I see that, I'm going to die laughing.
Bruh, if he comes out there with that, he might not even make it out that home opener. Yeah, might not even let me do that about the stadium, bro.
If it works, we'll be all for it.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
man.
So a lot of fun we're going to have with the NFL in the coming weeks. So be prepared.
So speaking of the NFL, I got a couple of rants for you tonight, man. We joke around about how your Eagles often turn this into therapy for you. Well, the NFL is turning tonight into therapy for me because I'm about to have to go ham on a couple things, bro.
The floor is yours, sir.
First of all, the schedule release came out.
Yes,
I want to know. I want an explanation from the NFL. I want to understand why my team, and we're not the only West Coast team that doing like this, but we're the main one I had looked at our entire schedule. Why do I have not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 10 a.m. games? Yes, I said 10 a.m. because 1 p.m. games on the East Coast are at 10 a.m. for West Coast teams. That's ridiculous. There are only 6 teams in the whole NFL in the Pacific time zone. You're telling me you can't manage to schedule 6 freaking teams for late games the whole season? You're so up against the wall that you really had to schedule West Coast teams for 10 a.m. games. You had to schedule this for 5 of them. And then if that's not bad enough, you also, on multiple weeks, have us flying back and forth across the country. It's ridiculous. Are you that mad at us for getting injured and not meeting your expectations last year? Maybe you shouldn't have screwed us over in the Super Bowl to give Andy Reid a ring. That's my thoughts.
Well, man, just to comment on your thoughts, man, it's tough. I mean, I get where you might have to have some games, but it is quite a few games. I could say myself on my end, the lack of primetime games is a little disconcerting. I understand we had a bad year, but come on, man, the whole division did. So a little disappointed about that. Feel like we should have an opportunity to have more primetime games. We have some good matchups, going on. A lot of them are not prime times. And our Thursday night game, we get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Thursday night. And, a lot of teams will be like, why not comply about it? I'm actually happy that we get Tampa Bay on the Thursday night. Let's get it. 1-on-1. We're going to see where we're at. So it's into the season a little bit. It's not the beginning. So we get a chance to see where we're at. If we suck, they'll probably spank us. If we're able to come out and get the right pieces and run Mr. Yes Man's system on the way that Howie and Jeffrey wanted ran, because they pretty much run everything now, then maybe we can have some success. I would say 2 guys that don't really understand X's and O's of football, basically being the ones in control, sounds concerning, but maybe they allow him to handle the X's and O's part and they just oversee everything else. We'll see how that works. But what I will say is I love our schedule. Looking at it, we don't play any road teams that made the playoffs last year. It's one of the easier schedules in the league. Obviously, when you finish last in the league, that plays a part into it. So, hey, I'm happy overall with where we're at. And I'm just ready to get things started, baby.
So real quick, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the NFL schedule tonight. But if you want to comment about your team, if you're live with us right now, you can drop it in the chat. Oh, if you are catching this on the replay, then make sure you call the Play Callers voice line, 678-680-3998, and leave us a message and let us know. And you might get your comments on air next week.
You just might. You never know if you don't rock with it. Now, I know that you stated you had a second bit of things you want to get off your chest. So this sounds like as good of a time as any. Say what you got to say, man.
Yeah, man. So there's this guy that some of y'all might remember from a few years back by the name of Tim Tebow. Sorry. And this guy is now going to get a contract to play, or at least try out to play, tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, let's be clear about a couple things. Number one, I understand the reason this is happening is because Urban Meyer loves him some Tim Tebow. He was his coach at Florida. There's a connection there. That's why he's even getting this opportunity. The second thing I'm going to say is, had this been what happened the moment Tim Tebow came out of college and tried to come to the NFL, instead of him trying to pretend to be able to play quarterback at the NFL level, no one would even have an issue with this. This dude is now in his 30s, has never, and I do mean ever, played tight end at any level in his entire life. And now he thinks he's going to come out and play tight end at the NFL level. So here's the thing, Tim. You had this nice guy image. I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that's fake. I don't know you personally. I'm not going to make any assumptions. But what I do know is this. There's a lot of guys out there in the league that feel like you get a lot more credit and a lot more opportunity than you deserve. And I don't disagree with them. But what's important to know is you're not going to be playing quarterback anymore, bro. Them boys going to hit you now. I'm going to quote what Hugh Douglas said on the local radio here in Atlanta. You get up in the trenches, Tim, people going to start putting hands on you like you ain't ever seen before. It ain't going to be fun. You might want to rethink this decision, buddy.
Now, I'll tell you, personally, I think it's laughable. I think him getting the opportunity over guys that are established veterans, young guys who have applied their craft at the tight end H-back position their whole career, for him to even be getting the opportunity is laughable. A lot of people have compared it to the plight of Colin Kaepernick. I'm not going to go as far as to make that connection because we're talking about different positions, but I can understand the overall logic, which in my opinion is, okay, you've got this guy who basically has never played this position before. You're going to allow him to walk into the NFL and get an opportunity. And let's be real, more than likely, he's going to make that team, at least as, a practice squad player because of the connection with Urban Meyer. So let's be real. He's more than likely going to be on that final roster. So you're taking a spot away from someone who is either a young player who could use that experience and who actually plays that position and has played that position his whole life, or a veteran presence that you could have brought in, and there have been some people within the Jaguars organization or former players that have come out and applauded the move. Those are what I would consider company men, towing the company line only, because there's no way as a former player, as an executive or a former executive, that you should be okay with this move, because you're basically saying, I don't care. We're only here to do what we want to do, and Urban Meyer can make the decisions that he wants to make, whether they make sense or not. That's the kind of start you want to have. And you're bringing in a guy that's going to take some of your focus off of where all your focus should be. And you know where that is? On your number one pick, Trevor Lawrence, your golden boy. So, in my opinion, hey, I love the move for Jacksonville because I love to see teams that do ridiculous things pay for them. I love to see coaches that make foolish decisions pay for those foolish decisions. That's what this is. It's been summed up by a lot of players in a lot of different ways, but I simply feel this way about it. Tim Tebow doesn't deserve the opportunity. He's done nothing in his past to show that he should have the opportunity, yet he gets the opportunity. That's laughable. That's a joke. That's disappointing. And it's another scar or mark on Urban Meyer's tenure in Jacksonville. Now, I have heard some people say that he may play like a Taysom Hill role for the team, which is even a worse idea. So however you try to spin this is a terrible idea. It's going to hurt Jacksonville more than likely, more than it helps. Maybe it's a publicity stunt to get some of the pressure off of Trevor Lawrence. We'll see, but I don't see this ending well. And if I'm wrong, I'm fine with admitting that. But let's be honest. A career position switch in your 30s for a guy that washed out of the league at one position, had the opportunity to go to this position earlier and wouldn't do it.
Right.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think one of the big issues people have, outside of the fact that he's done nothing, like you said, to deserve this opportunity, is the fact that it's been so long since he even was in the league at all and to now try to make this comeback, it just comes across as trying to stay relevant.
Very
because here's a
self-centered.
newsflash for anybody who doesn't know. You might have saw a couple stories here or there that made it seem like Tim Tebow was actually doing pretty decent in baseball. He wasn't. And that's why now he's trying to switch and play tight end. He's trying to stay relevant. Yeah, he'll be a broadcaster. He'll have that opportunity. But Tim Tebow wants to be on the field and he wants to have everybody talking about him. And we all know what's going to end up happening with this. Don't let Trevor Lawrence go out there and struggle. Because these Tebow fans, man, they might not even wait for Trevor Lawrence to struggle before they start their nonsense. But if he starts to struggle, oh, it's a wrap. It is a wrap. They're going to be in full force. And Skip Bayless is going to be their leader.
Now, what I do want to say in regards to this is if Tim Tebow goes out there and he takes a knee for whatever reason, if he takes a knee and he doesn't get the same treatment that Colin Kaepernick and other people got when they took a knee, you're all hypocritical trash. Period.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue with a lot of it is you really have only seen Kaepernick be the only one to be punished for it, right? Everybody else, they go out and do it, and now it's acceptable. Now it's the cool thing to do. And meanwhile, Kaepernick is still out there not getting any opportunities. And we've talked before about, neither one of us think that Colin Kaepernick was like this super fantastic quarterback that if he was still in the league would have been winning MVPs and carrying somebody to the Super Bowl single-handedly. But he's certainly better than some of the other quarterbacks that are in the league right now. At the very least, he's better than like 90% of the backups on people's rosters. So
Agreed.
The fact that he doesn't have a job at all is ridiculous.
All I'm saying is we had this whole big thing. Everybody had this whole big thing about Kaepernick and his kneeling. So if Tebow comes back and he starts kneeling, I want the same big ado about Tim Tebow kneeling because he hasn't been there. You have other guys who've been in the deal for a while, but he's new. So I want him to get the same thing. If he doesn't, that's another problem I have.
Well, man, using the logic that people who hate on Kaepernick have, if Kaepernick was disrespecting the military and disrespecting the flag by taking a knee, I guess if Tim Tebow takes a knee to pray, he's disrespecting God, according to these Kaepernick haters.
Well, man, we'll see how
that should definitely upset some people, man.
Yeah, we'll definitely see how it shakes out, but that's just my personal opinion on that, and this is the place for me to share that.
That's right, man. This is the place.
Now, I will say a suggestion that we haven't talked about yet, but I think we could do is we could run through the schedule week by week. We got a while till the season starts. Just take 1 week at a time and talk about a couple of games that we think are interesting.
Yeah.
Every week. But yeah, that's something we'll get into. You'll hear us say about it. But just remember, the schedule is out, which means we're getting closer to the season, which brings a smile to this face. And
we'd like to welcome y'all to the Play Callers production meeting. Oh, wait, we're live. Never mind. We're over here planning future content on air.
Hey, man.
That's how we do, man.
Why not?
Hey, man, if you're going to say you bringing the people into the show, man, bring the people all the way in, right?
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all get behind the scenes and everything, bro.
Be a part of it all.
Yeah. So is that it for the NFL this week, man? Are you have anything else you need to talk about with the NFL?
So there's always more to talk about, but we can leave that for now. Okay. We've got a lot to cover in the NBA, and I also want to say this is the part of the show where people are going to be mad, but the WNBA season is starting. I want you guys to know these ladies are for real. You need to check them out. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I know some of our illustrious watchers get a little upset when we talk WNBA. But guess what? You're going to be upset the whole WNBA season, or you're going to get over it. But it's starting today, so we'll start to get rolling in players. Got a lot of great players. Number 1 pick. The number one pick last year was her early in the season, so she gets a chance to have her full rookie season this year. We've had a major injury already in the WNBA, but we'll talk about that on a future show. But just be aware, it's out there. Start looking for it. You'll love it.
So one thing I'm going to say on that, man, is if you are going to be mad about us discussing the WNBA, you have two options. You can be little mad or you can be big mad. But you're going to be mad because we're going to talk about it.
Pretty much. But, sir, there's several different things that we can cover in this last about half hour of the show in regards to the NBA.
Indeed.
So, let's dig into it.
Let's do it, homie.
So, when we're thinking about the NBA, we're thinking about the playoffs. Last week, my co-host was able to give his opinion on the playing games. Wasn't here to rebuttal that, but I'd like to just quick thoughts this week. So for me, the playing games, I like. My only concern with them is I don't want it to be a huge gap. So if you have a team that's in ninth place and they're 3 or 4 games back of, eighth place, I don't mind having a plan for that. If you have a team that's 2 or 3 games back from that, so within about 5 games of eighth place, I'm fine with you doing a plan for that. But when we get guys where there starts to be a large gap, I think that's where we need to have a cutoff if this is something that's going to continue. I know the NBA wants to continue it, but this will all depend honestly on how people tune in and how people go to those games. If people don't tune into those playing games, they'll go away. If people don't go to those games and spend money, they'll go away. That's the reality of it, is money driven. But I don't have a problem with it. And I know we've had LeBron speak out recently, Luka speak out, some of the people when they're in that position. We haven't really heard anything from Dallas now that they're above that 6 line. They've kind of gone real quiet. Funny how that works. But I think it's great for the game. And as my co-host did say last week, I do believe this was instituted to allow a certain person to get on the playoff stage. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to get there this year. Team's not doing well, and his fingers broke. That would be Mr. Zion Williamson. And I don't really fault the NBA for doing that, but it's funny how this happened right around the time where, he got into the league and started to generate a lot of buzz and a lot of eyes are on him. So just throwing that out there.
Very, very coincidental.
Very coincidental. That's what I would call a coinky dink.
Not a coinky dink, man.
Yes, sir. A very strong coinky dink. Now, if we're going to talk NBA, let's start in the Eastern Conference, right? Because at the Eastern Conference, we've got 3 teams that are pretty much locked. Positioning may slightly change, but the 76ers, the Nets, and the Bucks are the top 3 teams. Those are the teams that anyone's going to have to go through if they want to make a run and come out of the East. I fully expect one of those 3 teams to be the one that comes out. What I think is important is seeding. Right now, the Bucks are 2 games back of first. The Nets are 1 game back of first, and then the 76ers are in first. I do believe with only a couple of games to play, Milwaukee has played themselves out of the opportunity, obviously, to be first. Big E.
Your boy say elbow cough.
I think they're possibly trying to fight to get to that number 2, because if they could grab the number 2 seed, what they could do is ensure that up until the Eastern Conference Finals, they're at home. The Nets, on the other hand, rather than losing to drop down to give them an opportunity, are probably focused on getting the number 1 overall seed. Philadelphia's going to want to keep that, because I think of the 3, Philadelphia is the one that's more susceptible to catching an L early.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, man. We always talk about this with the playoffs. Is it's all about the matchups. It's not necessarily about who the best team is overall. It's about who gets the best matchups. Because sometimes you might be the best overall team, but then there's that one team that just got your number. You know, we talked about it last year. Milwaukee looked like the team that could go all the way, but that Miami team was just that one team that could get them. So, you know, you always have to kind of think about that when you're looking at seeding and trying to figure out where you're going to end up being. You know,
Absolutely.
like we talked about over in the West, you know, how important it's going to be for the Lakers to not actually end up in a situation where they have to play the Clippers in the first series. I think
Oh
they
yeah.
can beat the Clippers in a 7 game series, but you got to think about the fact that LeBron, AD, both, you know, still in and out of the lineup right now. It's going to take some time to get some chemistry going. You don't want to have to see the Clippers in the first round when you haven't got your chemistry down yet. It's not going to go well. If you can hold off and see them in the finals, the Western Conference Finals, that might be a different story. So yeah,
Yeah.
those matchups are important. Those seeds are important.
Yeah, we'll get to the West. Also in the East, we're looking at the next group. So I'm looking at the Hawks, the Heat, and the Knicks, because that's really that next group of teams, and they're pretty much locked into those positions now. Um, as far as who will be where, the Heat and the Knicks could end up flip flopping, or the Hawks actually just based on records. So of those teams, I think you're more concerned with the Heat, of course, because of what they were able to do last year. They have a deep enough team that even though they lost Victor Oladipo to another injury, seems to be a guy that gets injured a lot. I think they still have enough to do what they need to do if they can get Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero to perform like they did last year, as well as get some things out of Kendrick Nunn, which they've been able to at times. Um, I think they have enough to still do what they did last year. And that's shocked some people, maybe not to the same extent because Milwaukee got better, the Nets got a whole lot better. The 76ers with the same team, but actually have a coach that knows how to coach them and use them, are playing a lot better. So I think that you're looking at about four teams really that I expect can come out of the East. I think you have to put the Heat there and in the top three. When I look at the Hawks, the Knicks, the Celtics, and the Hornets, those are the other teams that are, as of now, in. Right now, the Hornets are in eighth place with 33 wins. Come on, Charlotte. I said 35. Come on, man. Get right. They're close to it, though. And
I did give you credit for that last week, by the way, in case you
yeah, I
missed
saw
it.
that as well. Appreciate that. And Wizards and Bulls. Those are the two. So essentially, man, well, Pacers and Wizards, excuse me. Essentially, we're looking at Wizards, Pacers, um, 9-10. Wizards being 10, Pacers being 9. So that's going to be a playing game. Just looking at the schedule, there's no way that could change. Um, we're looking at the Hornets and Celtics. The Celtics are looking bad, and that might be the win that gets the Hornets 235 because I don't think Boston's going to be able to beat them in a game just because they're without Jalen Brown, they're looking bad. They've been kind of up slightly, but down most of the season. So we're seeing a lot of them just being who we've seen them be throughout the season, which is disappointing because I expected them to be that team instead of Miami as that fourth one to really be a threat. So, the East is looking very interesting. I think any of those bottom teams can beat any of them really up to about the Heat. I think the Hawks could be beat by any of those teams. As it stands now, the Hawks will be playing the Heat in the first round. It would just depend on who gets home court, who finishes fourth, and who finishes fifth. But I think, you look at whoever wins the playing game between the Hornets and Celtics, I anticipate that being the Hornets. They're going to have a good matchup against the Nets. They're probably going to get spanked in that matchup, but it will be some good experience for them. And, they could win some games. I think you got the Pacers and Wizards. I think the way that Russell Westbrook is playing now, Bradley Beal's playing, I think they can beat the Wizards in the one game. I mean, the Pacers, excuse me, in one game. And they can be their eighth seed to go up against the 76ers and earn their spanking. So we'll see how it actually plays out. But that's just, some rough ideas off the top of where I think those things are going to go with those teams. And as always, in the comments, guys, feel free to give us your opinion. Feel free to let us know how you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I will say this, man. The one team I'm interested to see how they do is Atlanta because they're a team that ever since they brought Lemon Wing Lou back, they've actually been playing or Lemon Pepper Lou, excuse me.
Lemon
Uh,
Pepper Lou.
they've been playing really well. They've had a couple games where it seems like they'll go out, beat somebody, maybe a little bit too ego driven, and then they mess up the next game. So they're a team overall that's playing really well. I want to see how are they going to handle some adversity in some of these series. That's gonna be the question. I think they're still a little bit too young, a little too inexperienced in those situations to go very deep in the playoffs. But I'm curious to see exactly how far they do get.
Well, flat out, I'll tell you, I anticipate them being out in the first round. Um, I don't think they have yet what it takes to be able to overcome Miami, and that's who they're going to play. So
Yeah,
you're
I'm not
looking
saying
at
that that's unreasonable by any
seed,
means, by the way.
and I think that they're going to, catch that L pretty quick. I'm saying 5 games, maybe 6. I think they're going to catch that L pretty quick because the Heat are kind of rising, and while Atlanta has a little bit of a better record, the Heat have went through a lot this year, and I think they're coming together at the right time. Um, Big E says, "Let's go, Charlotte." Might as well do something if you're there, right, Big E? Um, I just feel like, when you look at matchups, there's really only 4 teams that can win. The Nets, the concern is the matchup. If they have to play Milwaukee in the second round without a real dominant big presence, you're going to get guys in foul trouble trying to take care of Brook Lopez and Giannis. And Lopez has shown in a series in a couple of games he can still pull out and be the guy he was a couple of years ago. And he never was like a great all-star, superstar center, but he was a guy that could get you buckets and drop you a quick double-double. So having that still be there could be good for you. And, I think that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see in the playoffs. And I think that we're going to end up with Eastern Conference Finals of the 76ers and the Milwaukee Bucks. That's my prediction.
That's your
And I
prediction.
think it's going to be fun. And I think Milwaukee is going to win that series.
So a little surprised to actually hear you say that you don't think the Nets are going to make the Eastern Conference Final. What do you think is going to do them in?
The size of Milwaukee, man. They're going to be playing Milwaukee
in the too much for them.
And Kevin Durant is a great player. He's going to do his thing. James Harden is a great player. He's going to do what he does. Kyrie, as a third option, he's really good. But Milwaukee's going to get after you on the defensive end. They're going to play hard. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to make you work for everything. You're not going to get as many open shots, and they have guys who have good length and size that can guard a Kevin Durant. And you're not going to stop Kevin Durant, but what you want to do is make things difficult. What teams that get in trouble with the Nets, as I've watched teams lose to them this season, is when they try to focus on taking one of those guys away. The thing is, you got to remember one basketball, right? There's only one. So only one person can score at a time. So if you put good defenders on James Harden, on Kevin Durant, and on Kyrie and allow them to play one-on-one with weak side help if it's needed, if they get to the rim, that's where people have had the most success. So that's what I think Milwaukee's going to realize if they get out of their first round, which they should, but it's never a guarantee. That's what they're going to need to focus on in that anticipated matchup. And I think Milwaukee's going to be able to pull it off. But what I will say is I do believe it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series. And I would not be surprised if Brooklyn does find a way to put up enough points to win, but I don't anticipate that happening.
Yeah, I guess my question when it comes to Milwaukee is this is a team that's had a couple opportunities. They've not been able to get the job done for a couple of reasons. It's like the first time, maybe it was a little bit of inexperience. Then last year, Giannis getting hurt, but they weren't playing well before Giannis got hurt. So I don't know, man. I need to see Milwaukee prove to me that when they get into that clutch situation that they can get it done.
Well, if you look at their records against the Sixers and the Nets this year, you'll see something interesting. I'll let you, look into that. I know we don't do too much stats here, but let's just say they've been playing really well against those guys. And also, they've had some veteran pieces that they've added. They've added a Drew Holiday. They've added PJ Tucker. So they've added guys who are going to bring veteran presence in situations that they did not have before. So you're not necessarily only looking at Giannis to give you 40 points a game. you're able to spread that ball around. You're able to have a lot of guys do what they need to do. And that's something that's going to benefit them if they try to go deeper in the playoffs. Because what have teams been doing in the past? They've been trying to take Giannis out of the game. So if you try that this year with the double and triple teams and those other guys play the way that they've been playing, Middleton as well, it's going to be way more difficult. So that's where I think they've kind of crossed that hump of understanding we have to be versatile. We can't depend on Giannis to do it every game. There are going to be games where he's not going to play as well. Heck, there may be games where he has to leave because of injury or soreness. So you need to have other guys, and I think they have more of that than they've ever had for him this year, and that's why I'm expecting them to go further.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, man. I'm not ruling them out. I'm just saying that I just need to see. I need to see it happen before I can believe in it.
Open your eyes, sir. Open those eyes. It'll be happening right before them.
I still don't see it.
That's because you ain't got your contacts on, player.
Oh, that's what it is. Oh, is that
exactly
why you so blurry? Is that why you so blurry?
That's exactly what it is.
Man, you solved all my problems in life.
Hey, we're not just a sports talk show, apparently.
What a jerk.
Now, moving on to the Western Conference, right? So the Western Conference, whole different scenario. You've basically got, I would say comfortably, you got the teams locked in 1 through 10, but positioning is going to be crazy, right? You've got the Jazz only 1 game up on the Suns with a couple of games left to play. You've got the Clippers only 1 game up on the Nuggets with a couple of games left to play. So you can see some shifting in that 1 through 4. Pretty much
Good.
Jazz and Suns are looking like they're going to be 1 and 2. Just a matter of who's going to be. Clippers and Nuggets looking like they're going to be 3 and 4. It's just a matter of who. Obviously, the Mavericks and the Trailblazers. The Mavericks are 1 up in the loss column. So they have 1 more game left to play than the Trailblazers. But, most of the teams have played 70 games now, 69, 70 games. So we're looking at teams having 2 or 3 more games left. So not a lot of shifting anywhere, but I think 5 and 6 is that place. Now, you also notice the Lakers are only a game back of 5th, half a game of 6th. So they still have the opportunity to try to slide away from that playing game. Obviously, if they do, that means Dallas or Portland is going to slide into it. Portland has been on a tear. You understand me? In the last 10 games, they're 8 and 2, which right now is the best 10 games split of any team in the Western Conference. And for that fact, if you go to the East, the only 2 teams that can match that are the Heat and the 76ers. Ironic. And actually the Bucks as well. So Bucks, Heat, and 76ers from the East. And the only team from the West is the Trailblazers team. And, I did miss one other one, the Dallas Mavericks. So we're looking at the 2 teams that are kind of stuck there, both at 8 and 2, fighting off LA to stay out of that play-in game. So it's very interesting. You have 5 teams in the last 10 games that have been 8 and 2. So that tells me those teams are trending the way you want to trend at the end of the season, which is up. Unless you're the 76ers, you should be disappointed with how you played the last game against the Heat. Shame on you, and you must do better if you want to have an opportunity to really win. You cannot pack it up at any game. But yeah, once you get to 8, 9, and 10, you're looking at the Warriors, the Grizzlies, and the Spurs. The Warriors and Grizzlies are actually fighting for the 8-9 spot. The Warriors have it because of a tiebreaker, but they're both 37 and 33. So these last 2 games could just define them. And of course, keep in mind the difference between 8 and 9. If you're 8th place, you play the 7th place team. If you win, you're automatically in. But if you lose, you still get an opportunity to play another game. If you're the 9th place team and you lose, you're done. So keep in mind that it's very important. If you have to be in the play-in, you want to be in a 7 and 8 game. The 9-10 game is basically a college basketball game. So, curious as to your thoughts on where things land and who you think is going to rise and who you think is going to fall once we start to hit the playoffs in this last little run, which is really the playoffs now if you're in the West.
Yes, I mean when you look at the West, I'm gonna really just kind of focus on the teams that are going to be in the play in here because, as you said, those first 6 seeds are pretty much set right now. I feel. I mean, yeah, technically the Lakers can still get into that sixth spot, but it's going to require that either Dallas or Portland loses their last 2 games, with LA winning their last 2 because of the fact they lost the tiebreaker against both of those teams. So I don't feel overly confident as a Lakers fan that they're going to get the 6th seed. I'm pretty much assuming that we're in the play-in at this point. So I'm going to kind of just focus on those 4 teams. And I will say, I've talked about this a couple times as a Lakers fan about how my big concern about us going into the playoffs is the lack of chemistry because of the injuries and everything this season. And Golden State is playing lights out right now. Specifically, Steph Curry is playing lights out right now, which I don't know whether it's almost like there were 2 guys who have an interactive sports talk show who back at the beginning of the season suggested that Steph Curry almost by himself could actually get Golden State into the playoffs. Do you remember who it was that said that?
Would that be the same show where somebody was talking about the Charlotte Hornets making the playoffs and winning 35 games?
Oh yeah, that was us. Yeah, that's right. That's why it sounded so familiar.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The idea of playing the Warriors in this playoff game actually scares me, or this playing game scares me. But I actually hope that if we stay at 7, I actually hope they stay at 8, for the very reason you stated earlier. Because I feel much better about my chances of beating Memphis or San Antonio. And even if I lose that, I can still get the 8 seed.
Right.
And the thing is, as you pointed out before, LA actually matches up well. Even maybe not having the chemistry quite down, they actually match up pretty well against both Utah and Phoenix, especially against Phoenix.
Yeah. Phoenix doesn't have a lot of playoff experience outside of Crowder and CP3. So you're looking at a team that you have a lot of guys that could, and not necessarily they will, but have the high probability of going into the playoffs and kind of, choking a little bit or not being able to do as much because the stage being bigger than they're used to. So that's kind of what you're looking at, especially with Phoenix, because they haven't been there. Utah, they've been there, but you know what we did to them last year. We'll need to keep talking about it.
Yeah. So that's how I kind of feel with it. When I look at the teams, I think the Lakers definitely have a chance if they can get their chemistry down to make it to the NBA Finals again this year. The Clippers obviously are a team that has the talent to. I still think they're too soft. So much like I said with Milwaukee, until they can prove to me that they can go out there and not crumble, I'm not believing in them. Denver, losing Jamal Murray hurt. There's no way around it. They're still playing good basketball. There's enough question marks in the West right now that I'm not going to rule them completely out. They could still make it very deep. They could even possibly go to the NBA Finals this year. Because although the West is very competitive and there's a lot of really great teams in the West, they are very evenly matched. And there is nobody in the West right now that you look at and you say they're flawless. There really isn't. Like, every team in the West has some glaring holes that you're looking at. So I really feel like any of those teams can actually make it. The teams I have question marks about the most are teams like Dallas, who really haven't had the experience, or Phoenix, who they have a couple of experienced guys. I just don't think Phoenix has the size to be able to bang and compete in a 7-game series with some of the bigger teams. Utah, that's a team that, they came close last year, almost beat Denver and went to the Western Conference Final. Denver did go to the Western Conference Final last year. Like you said, Portland's playing lights out right now. Golden State's playing crazy. They beat several of the top seeded teams. So it's going to be competitive, man. The only teams I'm looking at that I'm like, yeah, I'm not worried about them at all is Memphis and San Antonio.
Hmm. I'll say this. As far as the Lakers go, I think the problem that the Lakers are going to have is, they're not going to have their same chemistry, and that's going to be
Yeah.
huge as far as affecting what they're able to do. I
Yeah.
do believe that if Denver can get back their full complement of guys other than Jamal Murray, because they have some other guys who've been injured and haven't been able to play, then you're going to have a team that gives you a whole lot, even without Jamal Murray. And maybe that's a chip on their shoulder, right? Maybe that's that difference maker. Oh, nobody
Yeah.
thinks we can do it because we don't have Jamal Murray.
Yeah,
We
let's
still
not
got
act like
the
Aaron Gordon's a
guy,
bum. Let's
right?
not act like Aaron Gordon and Joker is our bums, right?
Or Michael Porter Jr., who's really been stepping up.
Yeah, he
And
has.
guys like Monte Morris and different guys who, have taken roles on that team and kind of stepped their game up a little bit. And it's for some other guys, Compazzo, who is not a traditional rookie. I think he's about 30. He's played ball overseas, so he has some, experience. So there's a good, solid group of guys. No one guy's gonna, do what Jamal Murray did for the team, but with what they have enough to, be able to do what they need to do. Now, to me, the team to watch out for is the Clippers. And I hear all the talk. Everybody's, the Clippers are soft. What they did last year, they choked. Utah did the same thing last year. But Utah, we're not hearing hardly the amount of grief that we're getting on the Clippers. What I will say is simply this: under Ty Lue, this team looks different. They did add DeMarcus Cousins, who doesn't play a lot for them, but when he does play, he's a big body, he's hungry, and he's an old school big man. Right. So if you get out there with a guy like Jokic trying to guard him, that could be a problem because he's an old school big man. So that's why I'm glad that Denver got, JaVale McGee as a guy that kind of has that same play style. But, when you're looking at the West, the team that concerns me the most is the Clippers because I think they're the most complete team. They don't have any glaring injuries. So they have their entire complement of guys. They have a coach who has been known to come in and be able to do well once the team's already established with stars. He did it before in Cleveland. This could be an opportunity for him to do it again. So that's the team I really watch and say, that's a team that everybody should be watching. I know we want to sleep on them based on what happened in the past, but again, new coaching staff, talent, a little bit more added. And do not forget the one factor that concerns me the most about them, and that's playoff Rondo. They have playoff Rondo. And people can laugh and say what they want. And he's not the guy that's going to go out and score 20, 30 points a game, but he's clutching the playoffs. He'll give you big buckets in moments when you need them. Leadership, he's going to be able to talk, and everybody, including Kawhi Leonard, is going to listen. So when you have a guy like that there, and you did not have to give up anybody but Lemon Pepper Lou, and not saying that Lou Williams will not be missed by that team because he obviously will. That microwave scoring that he could provide off the bench is gone, but that team is pretty complete. It's the completest team I see hitting on all cylinders in the West right now, and they're dangerous. Obviously the Jazz, you've got Donovan Mitchell injured, coming back off that. I think he'll be back the next couple of games if I read correctly. So you got him coming back. So you're still looking at seeing what he's going to be and how long it's going to take him to get back in. Same problem you got with the Lakers. It's taken Davis a while, but it's starting to show a little bit of the old AD. You got LeBron. You got to get him back. You got to get him playing. The concern also is for some of these teams that have injured guys returning, are they going to be able to get themselves back in shape in time to make a difference in this first round series, or in the case of the Lakers in the playing games? I think the whole league is hoping, the whole West is hoping the Lakers get taken out in one of these games or both of these games and don't make the playoffs. I think that's what the whole league is wishing for. Now, the Warriors, the problem is going to be you can let Steph put up 40 in the playoffs, bro. You could still smash them.
Yeah.
That's going to be the concern. If you're the Warriors, you just want to get in the playoffs, right? Because you understand that you're bereft of some of your most talented players. I think they still have Oubre. I think he's playing. They still have
I think he's
Draymond
out.
Green. Is Oubre out?
I think he
Okay.
is.
I thought he was back, but okay. But you still have Steph. You still have Draymond, who can step it up in the playoffs, but you really just don't have the complement of talent to be able to really go out and beat another team in a 8 game, in a 7 game series. Can you beat them in a playing game? Absolutely, but a 7 game series, I'm not as confident that they're going to be able to do that. And then we talked about the other teams. We know where they're at. The Denvers, the Mavericks. I'd have to agree that it just doesn't seem like Porzingis and Doncic get along, right? It just doesn't seem like that. It's not mixing right.
Yeah.
It's like if they were us, the show would be horrible because they don't vibe. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't seem like they vibe. So that's something that's going to have to be addressed. And obviously, Doncic is the one you're going to want to keep. So you got to make a decision on what you're going to do with Porzingis. Is you're going to try to get him to buy in, or are you going to try to move him while you can get value? Because it just doesn't seem like that's working.
Yeah.
And that's outside obviously looking in, but that's what I see. It seems disjointed. So you got that. Portland is another team to watch out for. That's the other team I would be concerned about. I don't care about seeding. They are pretty complete as well. And Norman Powell, we laughed because they gave up basically 2 players for Norman Powell. But having watched him, I would have to retract my statement and say that Norman Powell is better than both of the guys they gave up because he's more than both of those guys in one package. Kudos to Portland for making that move.
Sometimes, man, these NBA executives know more than us.
They do sometimes.
Sometimes.
They do. And it tightened up Portland's rotation too, right?
Yeah.
It tightened it up a little bit because now you only have to find those minutes for one person. You can get Anthony out there to do his thing. And let's not forget, Carmelo is a microwave scorer when he gets hot.
Yeah.
You don't expect that 8 games, but he can get it done. And Portland's pretty solid. They got a couple of bigs they can throw at you. They've got Dame. He's got his right-hand man. They got Powell there now as well. So you've got a lot of weapons there as well. So I would be really concerned about the Clippers and Portland. And if I recall correctly, Portland is in the 6th seed right now. So
I believe so, yes.
That would be Denver and Portland first round. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll see about that, man. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the NBA playoffs this year. I wish my team was not kind of hobbling into it right now, but nonetheless, I think it's going to be some really great playoff series. Should be a lot of fun basketball to watch. So we'll see how it all comes out, man.
And as always, there's going to be upsets. We're going to sit here and talk about how this person's going to do this, that person's going to do that. When the games actually start, somebody that we're going to expect is going to spank somebody, and somebody that we expect to do well is going to lose. That's pretty much every year. So we know that that's going to happen. We expect it to happen. But just like the NCAA, you can't properly tell who's going to be until it happens.
Oh, I need to go ahead and take this opportunity right now before the playoffs even start to give my proclamation that I seem to have to remind people of every single year. So for those of you who do not understand the NBA playoff system, allow me to educate you. They play a best of 7 series. What this means is that no matter how many points you win by the first game, you have to win 3 more games. No matter how many points you win by in the second game, you still have to win 2 more games. And especially if the team that wins the first 2 games is the home team, they now have to go play 2 games on the road. So if both home teams win, it's now a 2-2 series. Therefore, I don't want to see anybody coming out when somebody goes down 2-0 talking about the series is over. Unless there's a major injury to a superstar. Don't be coming out talking about the series over after 2 games. That's foolishness. Y'all don't do that this year. Stop that. Just had to throw that in there because, it comes up every year, man.
Only thing I'm going to say about my co-host proclamation is if Golden State gets down 2-0, it doesn't matter if they're on the road or at home, that series may be over.
I mean, as long as you throw the word may in there, I'm okay with it.
But I really believe that a lot of these teams are going to need to win road games in order. Like if you're the road team, those first two games, you're gonna need to try to get one of those two. You're gonna need to try to get that split because at the end of the day, if you're a road team and you can't win any home games, you can't win the series. So if you're a road team, you want to get one of those first two games. It's not always possible, but if you can, you want to rock that because that's how you're going to do what you need to do and win those series. I love the underdog. I'm one of those people. If my team's not involved, I'll root for the underdog unless your team I believe strongly in. I'll root for the underdog because, hey, that's a great story. It gives us something to talk about, gives the media something to talk about, it gives the fans something to pat their chest about before they go get spanked by another team. So, I'm fine with, with those scenarios and those situations happening. But for real, if you're the away team, if you're the team that does not have home court advantage, you want to try to come out and you want to try to win one of those first two games. People get too caught up in it, which I think is what the guy on my side is talking about. Him. But what I would say,
congratulations on pointing in the right direction there, by the way.
What I would say is that what you really have to focus on and what you really have to think about is you've got to win 4 games. However you do that is how you do that. If you go out and no one's hitting shots one game, pull the guys out and get spanked. Who cares? I think we're past that point now, especially with this new generation of players. It doesn't matter. They don't care that they got beat by 40 points this game or 20 points. No. Pull them out, get them some rest, especially if you're a team that had to do the play-in, and keep it back the next day. But what you want to do is try to split if you're the away team. And if you're the home team and you win the first two, if you can win one of those next two in the other team's building, you're in good shape. As Denver proved last year, until you win that 4th game, though, it's not over.
That's right.
3-1, it's still not over. 3-0, it's pretty much over. They may make it look good, but I think it's hard to win 4 games in a row. But teams have won 3 in a row multiple times. So be on the lookout for that as we get into the playoffs, man. Get ready for those playing games. Get excited, man. We got the NBA hitting the playoffs. We got the WNBA starting. Now we got schedules so everybody can figure out what games they're going to watch, what games they're going to go to for the NBA. It's picking back up, man. We're getting back closer to normal, man. And for better or for worse. For better or for worse.
Absolutely, man. Well, I see we do have a few more people tuned in. So just real quick, before we sign off tonight, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down in the bottom right-hand corner. And you might also notice something new at the bottom of the screen here. We have launched the Play Callers voice line. And I would just tell you, man, we've already had several phone calls come in during the show tonight. So we'll be checking those out, and we'll play a couple of them for y'all next week. You never know. It might be you. You might get on the air. So make sure you call and leave a voicemail on our hotline, and you never know. We might get you on the show. We might talk about your stuff. So that's what we're all about, interaction with the fans.
When you think about interactive, think of the Play Callers.
It's right there at the top of the screen. Live interactive sports talk. That means it happens in real time, people.
It means it happens a lot.
But man, appreciate everybody who tuned in tonight. Everybody who chatting in on the comments. Alan E, I see y'all over there, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Anybody catching us on replay, still appreciate y'all too. No, everybody can't make it live on Friday night, so it's all love no matter when you tune into the show. So just make sure you hit that subscribe button so you always get notifications so you never miss an episode.
And make sure, as always, man, share it with your people. So other people you rock with to do the sports thing, share it with them. Tell them to come check us out.
Yeah, man.
Tell them to hit the line. Button.
Let's get hit the share button. And when they say who you want to share with, say everybody.
Hey, feel free to share that playcallersportstalk.com too. If they, what I'm saying? Have them go slide on over to that YouTube and subscribe.
Absolutely. But man, that is it for tonight. So we will see y'all back next Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. for another hour of interactive sports talk with the play callers.
Yes, sir.
Charlotte, North Carolina, the ATL. Y'all better know that.
Dirty H2O, what's going on, man? Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Well, I'll let y'all next week, man.
And we out.